Everybody, it's Tony Kriz again. We're back with Off the Highway, and I'm going off the highway with that guy right there. That is Tom Krattenmaker, who, I mean, how much can I say about this guy? He is Director of Communication for Yale Divinity School. He is a religion feature writer for USA Today, and he is the author of The Evangelicals You Don't Know. Tom, just a couple setup questions here. Is it true to say that you would not identify yourself as a Christian?
Hi, Tony. Thanks for doing this with me. It is true. As I always put it, I do not identify as a Christian.
All right. Would you identify as a secular progressive?
I would indeed identify as a secular progressive. That is how I usually identify myself.
All right.
Now, someone who's listening closely may wonder why I'm phrasing it exactly that way, why you are phrasing it exactly that way. There's a little bit to unpack there. But so far, so good. You described it exactly as I describe it.
Okay, and early in your career in particular, you were a fairly staunch critic of American religion. True?
Yes, and in particular, when I first started writing columns for USA Today, I was very critical of evangelical Christians, especially with regard to what they were doing in the political arena.
And then you write a book, The Evangelicals You Don't Know, which is by and large a positive discussion, expose of practices within the evangelical church or things you've witnessed. Can you just give us a little bit of how you got to the point that you could actually be complimentary of evangelicalism, or at least pockets of evangelicalism?
As I continue to follow evangelicals and explore some interesting leads, follow my curiosity, I started learning about more and more things that defied my stereotypical thinking about evangelicals. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was impressed. I was even inspired a little bit. So after this initial wave of pieces where I was criticizing what evangelicals were doing in the culture wars and in politics, I started writing some other kinds of stories, in addition to some negative ones, yes. And these were things that defied the stereotypes. These were practices, these were people who were different from who my fellow secular progressives thought they knew. Indeed, they were the evangelicals they didn't know, the evangelicals I didn't know at first. So I felt very motivated to share their stories with this very skeptical audience.
Unbelievable, honestly. And I would say, as a member of the evangelical church, that I have found you in the years I've known you, to be a real friend of me personally, but also a friend of the church. You are a critic where we, quite frankly, need criticism, and you have been a friend in places where I feel like there have been things laudable. Has that been your goal?
It has been a very pleasant, unintended consequence. When I first started pursuing these storylines, Tony, my main purpose was just to write some good stories, do some good journalism. And the pleasant surprise is that along the way, I received a lot of inspiration, and I've made lots of friends. You and I have become good friends, and I really appreciate that and value that. I wouldn't say that I'm friends with all evangelicals. I still follow politics closely. There are things happening every day with people from every group that really annoy me, things that I think are wrong and that are not conducive to the public good in the United States. And in addition to that, I've met a lot of evangelicals who are wonderful people. Great ideas, they're an inspiration, and we've become friends. And I'd like to think that I have become sort of a friend of this corner of the evangelical neighborhood you might call the new evangelicals. You know, the ones I write about in the book. And you are very much a part of that group, Tony, just for the record.
Wow. Thank you, Tom.
I know that means a lot to you.
That is Tom Krattenmaker, the Director of Communications for Yale Divinity School. They let a secular progressive do that job. And the author of The Evangelicals You Don't Know. Thanks for being here, Tom.
Yeah, they lowered their standards a little bit, Tony, and they're letting me do this here at Yale Divinity School. Why do your eyes bug out when you say Yale Divinity School?
Because it's a big deal.
That's kind of scary.
It's a big deal.
Oh, okay.